Hey guys, thank you so much and welcome to the Game Your Future podcast, where we help gamers realize their full potential. And today I have a special guest for you guys. This is Martin Perkins, who is an indie game developer known for Square, Trial and Error, available on Steam. So, Martin, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I am doing stupendous. Thanks for having me here.
Fantastic. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you was about just indie game development because one of the things I love about this podcast is just kind of showcasing just the power of gaming and how that can affect and improve your everyday life. And it's fun to also go back and talk to the actual game developers, right? And so I'm
Mm.
kind of curious like how you got into game development first off.
It was something I've always wanted to do as a kid, but it's one of those industries that you've got to know somebody to get into it. And unfortunately, I didn't know anybody. So a lot of stuff is pretty much self-taught on my own. I would go onto a website and I would just say like learn about how to make games, and certain game engines would pop up and everything. One of the most common ones I use is I love RPG games.
Mhm.
So I quite literally typed in RPG Maker, sort of, but then there was a program out there called that. I was like, oh, great, I'll start with that. And it pretty much just started from there, learning how game development is, because it's definitely one thing playing games,
Yeah.
but making them, Nelly, it's a whole different kettle of fish. But when I was young, I'm going to say I was very naive, because I think we all want to be like, we play games, we love games, and we all want to make games, but we don't realize how much hard work goes into actually making them. And then once you start get to it, you think, oh, I'll have this up and running in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, you've probably just done the title screen. That's about it.
That's what, yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand. So as I mentioned to you off camera before, like I did a little bit of programming, not game development, but just even programming. I understood that it's so complicated. Like there's so much
Oh, yeah.
behind it and you have to do it exactly perfect, right, with the programming or language, or it all falls apart, right? So hence, debugging, right? So
Mm.
but so tell us a little bit about just kind of your process as far as like making a game, right? Because it's one thing to say like, wow, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of involved, but like, how can people that like myself maybe that like enjoy playing games that don't necessarily understand the game development process or what all it takes to go into making a game? Like, how big is it? Like, what have you had to work on for your game example?
Um, one of the things, I would say scope is something that people need to realize when they're making a game, and but also how the game developers have to think with the players in mind, because when you make a game, you know everything there is about that game. You know where all the secrets are, where all the roots are. But then when somebody else plays it, they don't have any of that, say, metadata also. Or it could even be something that's silly like, oh, this long road looks really cool, but then players like, yeah, nah, that part is way too long. It's little things like that. It's the things you don't realize what developer has done for you. And I know this is a lot of grief in the game community at the moment. But the yellow paint on when you're climbing up the cliffs,
Yeah,
a lot of people a lot of people don't like that. But also at the same time, you get people complaining, I don't know where to go.
right. Yeah, it's that fine balance of like you don't want to
Yes.
handhold it too much to be like, I don't need the yellow paint everywhere to know where to go versus I'm lost, I don't know what to do. So yeah,
Yeah, that's what you gotta. It's not just you. It's because when you're playing the game, it's just you. When you're making the game, it's everyone.
right. And that so you have to be able to cater to those different players. So is a lot of it I guess scoping it out is definitely
Mm.
like I understand so very important. Is it something that you have a lot of feedback on at that stage? Like I because I understand testing has got to be important,
Yes.
but at what
Yeah.
point do you bring in other people to get feedback? Like or how soon in the process?
Um. Yeah, that's another thing as well. So when you make a game, you want to give them enough to get good feedback on it. And what I mean by that is, it's like if you started a game and you've just got one level, they play it and they say they're not really experiencing truly what that game is about. You need to at least have maybe like, say if it's a 20 level game, you need at least have 5 or 6 levels and just see how people cope with that. So you're like,
Mm.
okay, this enemy's too hard, or that lump, or this part is too difficult. You know, you need to give them a good, decent piece of the pie before they can like, you know what, I like this, or some parts I don't like.
Gotcha. So it's just simply having enough for them to
Mm.
actually kind of
Yeah,
digest, if
yeah,
you
yeah,
will, right? So
yeah.
okay. Okay, because that's yeah, because I can imagine a few games where if you just took like one element out of it and said play test
Yes.
that, it's like, well, that's not the game, right? So
Yeah. So people might like that, and when the full game's released, to get to it, they'll be like, I don't remember this. Oh, this I definitely don't like.
yeah,
What the hell's this?
gotcha. So I'm kind of curious, just as kind of an aside, like on the you mentioned as far as like kind of hiding the secrets, I guess in the game,
Mm-hmm.
like, uh, so I guess if you're willing to say as part of your game, are there hidden secrets that nobody has found yet? Right? Are there some that are so well hidden that you're like, yeah, you'd really have to know, or you'd really have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
test, right?
To me, that's one of the favorite things about my favorite things about games is I don't know if you ever watched a YouTube video of a game you played 20 years ago, and they show you this thing. You're like, I did what? What? No. I thought I did everything in that game, and they show you an
Yeah.
extra scene, and it's like I think one of them I watched recently was Crash Bandicoot 2 on the PS1, and
Mm.
basically they say if you purposely, because when you play the game you're told to get the crystals. You get the crystals to complete the level. But if you purposely avoid the crystals and then go out the level, Cortex will actually start telling you off. And there's like 3 different lines of dialogue in him telling you off. And I love it because naturally, as a player, you would get the crystals. No way you would think that you would need to code something in for people purposely missing them out.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, no, definitely. In my game, there's loads of secrets in the game that players can find. But I think that's another thing when I was saying that about catering to everybody, because you want them to be able to find a secret, but at the same time, you want the secret to be like, oh, I discovered this on my own, use my own wits. It wasn't given to me. I
Right.
figured all of this out.
Gotcha. Yeah. You don't want it to be too easy, I'll
Yeah.
say. Like, yeah, you don't want to be like, well, I went left when I should have gone right. And you're like, okay, good job, right? But being able to kind of dig into like to get kind of whether it's like hidden passages or certain things to like
Mm.
you have to avoid that yeah, typically you would collect or I'm trying to think. And just even like the game design aspect of it as far as like what players' intention, right? So like because
Mm.
there's a multitude of players and everybody plays it different, right? So
Oh,
it's
yes,
so
yes.
it's very interesting because it reminded me of a story. Have you heard of or ever played Ultima Online?
I have, yes. Yeah, yes.
And do
I've
you
heard of
remember
it, yeah.
yeah, and do you remember the story when the game first went live? And I forget how they phrased it, but like the developers put in like wildlife, right? So like here's
Yeah, I think I've heard of that story.
oh, you've
Yeah,
heard this
yeah.
story, yeah. So where they're
Is it when they go like they kill the wildlife and the wolves, and then it came to the dragons, and they thought, oh no, the dragons would kill the players, but no, the players just kept on killing them.
yeah, it was like, oh, the coyotes or the wolves will kill the bunnies, and then that'll it's like no, and then but then the players kill the bunnies too, so then there was nothing for like the wolves to do. And you're just like, well, the players can get XP from the bunny or the wolf, and they're like, well, the bunny's easier, I'll just do that. So so players just they'll find the easiest way to do something, even if it's not
Mm-hmm.
something you intended. That's I remember the bone wall. I don't know if you heard that one too. In Ultima Online. So again, for Ultima Online fans, yay! But so if you're not an Ultima Online fan, like bear with me. So imagine an MMO where you have millions. I don't know if they had millions, but lots of players, all
Mm.
like and there's a few shards, but there was one like skeleton dungeon, and they called it the bone wall because it's a bunch of skeletons, and they had like one tile that was like a hallway that you could pass through to get to this other room, and people found out that like you could it took like it wasn't like most MMOs where there's no collision, like you could just run through people. Like no, you actually could stop on people,
Mm.
right? So and it would take effort to like you could walk onto the same tile on them, but it would take a lot of your stamina, and then the enemies couldn't walk through you either. So people would bunch up in at the end of the hallway, and the skeleton would come in, and like 30 people would hit it because they're all standing on the same tile, and whoever was getting hit after they got low, they would just back out, and then the skeleton couldn't kill them because they'd have to walk through 20 plus people to get to them. And so people would just kind of trade back and forth, walking in, walking out, and it got so bad that the developers had to put in a teleporter to teleport from one end of the room to the other for all the people that actually wanted to advance but couldn't walk through a walls of 30 people. Like, so it's like some bizarre things that like game developers have to work around because like who on the development team would have thought that yeah, there's going to be 30 players stacked in this hallway, right?
No, 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 that's what I mean. Yeah, yeah. There's just some people come up with the most bizarre ways. I remember I've never played it, but I watched a video about World of Warcraft one where there was a super boss. Um,
I, I think I know the one. Doom Lord
yeah,
Cassick, I think is who you're
yeah,
talking about.
and somebody dragged him into the town of NPCs, and there was something about each time he kills an NPC or he gets a buff. But since there was so many low level NPCs in the area, he practically became invincible.
Yeah. I think they had to like roll back the server or something too. They was like, yeah, we can't stop him, right? So nobody on the because even if you had the best people possible, they couldn't stop him because he would just constantly kill all the either the low level players or NPCs
Mm,
and just keep getting healed. Oh, that's so much fun that that kind of understanding that game development can kind of go in these interesting and creative weird ways depending on the player
mm.
interactions and feedback, right? So.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
one
Because
of the things, so one of the things I wanted to understand is like, so surely you can't test for all of this, right? So I guess at what point is it good enough, right? Like, and that's kind of, I guess maybe my question back to like how much testing or how much feedback is considered enough?
I think that's the thing. There really isn't really enough because even in today's standards as games, it's probably even professional games that's been out, and people are still finding bugs in those games even years after. It's just that somebody's discovered another exploit in the game that nobody thought of doing. The most recent one I've found out was speedrunners are notorious because they're always trying the quickest way. It was in Metal Gear Solid. And this is 20 years after the game's been out. And there's a part where Snake, the main character, was standing by a door that he couldn't go through yet. But what happened was he was standing so close to the door, he got shot. And what happened was it increased his hitbox size. And since it increased his hitbox size, that touched the door trigger for him to actually go through the door. So that allowed the player to skip through it. But again, as you said, and this is another thing, when something goes wrong, like point A and point B have absolutely nothing to do with each other, and you think they don't and they won't, and yet somehow they're causing this error to happen. You wouldn't think that you getting shot would make you go through a door. Saying it it doesn't even make sense. You got shot, you go through the door. It's just some things you just can't prepare yourself for, And speaking from an indie dev side, that's probably one of the more difficult tasks of game developing because again, if you're just one person, there's only so many times you can replay the same level again and again because it's time. It takes you time to replicate that. And the more pain in the butt ones to do is the off by chances where you can't really replicate it. There's like a chance for it to happen, and it's so there's never enough feedback or play testing you can never do for a game for it to be enough.
Gotcha. Yeah, at some point you just have to ship it, right?
Yeah,
Because otherwise you just be stuck. And I think that's an important kind of I'll call it life lesson too, because that's
mm,
something I think even outside of game development, right? Like I would say, like, have you seen that in other aspects of whether it's in businesses or life, right? Where it's just like you can never be 100% prepared, right?
no, no, definitely, yeah, yeah. I work in retail, and it's the amount of times with Christmas approaching, we can get as much stuff in as we possibly can, but we're always going to have a person saying, "Oh, do you have this in at 8 o'clock with 10 minutes till store closing on Christmas Eve?" They'll get upset. I'm like, "Well, don't come in at 10 to 9 on the last day of Christmas and ask us if we've got any turkey left because the answer will be no because it just
Yeah.
you can never prepare for it.
Yeah, so people like you could have all of it in the world and it's like, well, it's never enough. Yep.
Oh, definitely, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say even from like then the business aspect. So like I come from a corporate kind of corporate America
Mm,
kind of background, and that was one thing whether it's data analysis or just kind of preparing certain things that you can never truly be 100%. It's like, all right, I need you to do this analysis. What is the chance that, that this particular product will do this or do this many sales, so we need to buy this many. And it's like, I don't know what you're gonna sell. Like, like that's up to the sales team. So you have to use your best guess. And it's just like, I can't just be paralyzed and not give information, but I have to give it with some amount of confidence to say, like,
Mm.
yeah, this is how many I think I need to buy based on how many I think the sales team is gonna sell. And so at some point you have to do it.
No,
Right. So
definitely, yes. Yeah,
so I think a great life lesson for people too is that, if you wait for it to be perfect, if you wait for perfect information, that time will never come. Right.
definitely, yeah, yeah.
So definitely just move forward with the best information you have. Right. And so I wanted to get kind of onto that topic too, as far as kind of these skills that, whether it's, game development or gaming itself, that we've learned as players, and you can give some, even as a game developer, that you think that have helped you in the rest of like kind of your everyday life, whether personal or business, in like the retail side. Like what skills have you learned being a gamer or a game developer that have helped you elsewhere?
I would no, I would say um, definitely my problem solving skills. No, it kind of helps you understand when there's an issue, because a lot of time when you play games, so for like a puzzle game sort of thing, you play the puzzle game and your mind kind of thinks differently, or the social online game, when you play and you talk to other people, and working in retail, I kind of transfer that over to people I work with, because obviously I talk to a lot of people. I can understand how people are, especially with technology nowadays, and how people use it and how people text and type using technology. But yeah, I would definitely say my puzzle solving skills, especially working with people, because the amount of times they'll come up to me, it was like, right, I need this thing that needs solving, or do you have this item? What's the item? Oh, it's so this bottle of red wine. Anything specific? Nope, just a bottle of red wine. I was like, okay, I'll just try to figure out what you mean. We've got about 50 of them, so we'll narrow it down to one if we can.
Wow, that's yeah, and puzzle solving, I think, is definitely uh, a big part of, and what I like to propose on this channel is to say that I think it's kind of the greater problem solving
Mm,
and critical thinking, right? I guess, like, is what kind of, I guess, the non-gamer term for it.
yeah,
But it is what we do in games every day that we play, right? It's all games are. It's just like a fun way of solving different challenges and problems.
yeah.
Right. So I love the puzzle solving aspect of it, because it is like you said, you're trying to find out the right combination to make the customer happy, right? Which is just like the right combination of a
Pretty much,
puzzle.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, especially if there's customers complaints and they're not happy, but it's like, we gotta solve this and make sure they walk away happy. How are we gonna do this then?
Yeah, exactly. And the social aspect I absolutely agree with too, especially with the online games. Just having that kind of social interaction, I think, is just very powerful for people to have, is
Mm,
kind of, and even if those for like social anxiety and stuff, it's a great kind of first step, I guess, into that. If you wanted to kind of be able to meet and talk with more people, like just even
mm.
start with that kind of anonymous kind of behind the game,
Yeah,
behind the
yeah, yeah.
facade.
Because it's easier to type than it is to talk. Some people find it easier to type on there, and they'll, you meet them in person, quiet, but online, typing happen their way.
Yep, exactly. And what I love about the social aspect of it is it doesn't even have to be an online game or even a multiplayer game. I've noticed that my experience, my life, so you can tell me, especially like with RPGs, is that you can have a conversation with someone who's had the same experience, or played the same game,
Mm, mm.
right? If I say like, oh, I love Final Fantasy,
Yes.
and so we could have a conversation and we could connect, like, socially on that, and it's like, well, we didn't play together. We played the same game, but we both played it our own different ways, and we can have a
Mm,
conversation about that, and how cool and how fun that is to kind of chat with other gamers, be like, oh, did you find this item? Did you find that? Did you get that secret? Did you beat that boss? Like, all these
yeah.
kind of things that I think social aspect of gaming, I think, cannot be understated, even at the single player level.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. What other I guess and I'm also curious on the game development side too. So like, so I love the problem solving and the social aspect of it for the gamers. What have you noticed, I guess, as a game developer, as an indie game developer that has helped you elsewhere?
Uh, I think it's helps me connect with more different types of people because I can't do all the artwork. So yeah, when one of the things was when it came to marketing for the game, that's another big step within it. You know, half of it is quite literally developing the game, and the second half, which requires just as much, if not more, work, is marketing the game. So I was thinking, I was like, okay, what can I do to spread the word out, get the idea about all the game? And I remember one of the ideas I had about it, well, streamers, you know, I'll talk, people will play the game, people will see it, and they can stream it. So I've been looking around, going around, and that was an issue and a half in itself. You know, just going around, meeting, talking to people. And I remember making this one Reddit post because originally what I was doing, I was going on Twitter and said, do people have business contact emails? And I think that was another thing, just kind of exploring new different areas, you know, like, and then I noticed it was like business inquiries. Okay, I'll send them an email. Worst is they can say no. And then one day I made a Reddit post inquiring about like talking to other streamers, asking. I was like, you know, how often do you get emails, or do you find it spammy, or you know, what's your feedback on it? And then I had a reply from I believe from a Natty Geo, and then we started to. I sent her a message. I checked her Twitch channel, and then she invited me to a Discord, and then from there, I pretty much just found myself a second home on her Discord, you know, and then I met more other people through there, and I started going a bit more on Twitch, talking to other people on there. Now we're kind of talking with friends on there and everything. So yeah, that's kind of definitely put me in the direction I didn't think I would go when I started game developing.
That's really cool. So just being able to kind of, I guess, kind of put yourself out there, right? Just simply asking a question on Reddit can really just
Mm-hmm.
really help connect you with other people. So that's just really cool, really powerful, just that kind of stuff.
Mm.
So I think kind of if I could say like even like the message out of this too is just simply try, right?
Oh
So
no,
simply
definitely,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
simply ask, right? Because the if you don't ask, nothing will
You don't,
happen, right?
yeah, yeah.
You're
I
guaranteed
know.
that nothing will happen if you do nothing, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you want to get to your destination could be like 100 miles, and you're walking. It is going to take you ages. But the one thing for sure is, if you don't walk, you will never ever get to it, or even get near it.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong. Well, we'll say there's nothing wrong in trying. Just try it the right way. I think that might be another thing that would be good to touch up on. It's that when I was talking or sending these messages to streamers, I think communication is a very good thing you need to do. You need to communicate yourself the right way when you are talking to people, you know, because unfortunately nowadays we're full of spam, fake emails, scams. So there's another thing you got to be careful of. And I've seen a few people who would say, um, who has a really great game, but the way that they talk to people just kind of ruin it, sort of
Mm.
thing. Because I've seen a few people whose messages are a bit like, now you've just lost a potential customer streamer, or by I've seen it so many times where it's like, you
Oh.
know what, your game looks amazing, but your conversational skills is really blowing it for you.
Well, and I'm really curious. So for those that are indie game devs that are maybe trying to do that, like what are some of kind of the lessons learned about that? Like what are some of the mistakes you've seen people make that you're saying like this, top three things that to fix if you're trying to market as an indie game developer?
Um, always keep definitely seem always professional and polite. Always keep that. Don't ever forget you're not. Don't talk to them as a person, as you would in normally in the street, and you meeting them face to face. Talk to them, you know, how you would like to be talked. I would say the most common thing that I would definitely say is a no-no for indie Gebs is um, don't seem too needy. We all want to get out there. We all want to sell our game, but and I've seen people say it puts them off is when people are begging and pleading and they're like giving us the sorrow
Yeah.
story. And it's like, yeah, I know we're all struggling. We're all struggling, but you are putting people off, and you just seem, and be grateful for when people do pay attention to it. Just say thank you,
Yeah.
give them a shout out, give them a call, give them some credit, just give at least something back to them. And that's just one of the things what I did with a few of the streamers for the people who first streamed the game. I was like, you know what, as a big thank you, I'm going to put your character in the next game as an unlockable skin, as like, just it's just a little bit of thank you, but just
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah, one of the big things is just always be professional about it. And if somebody gives you feedback, again, this is probably my personal advice. If somebody gives you feedback, take it with a pinch of salt, because not all the feedback is viable. All feedback is a person's opinion on your game.
Mm. Yeah.
So if you release the game as a hack and slash game, okay, somebody says the enemies are too hard, they have too much health. Now, if you've got one person saying that, don't change the health, because you might have had like 10 people playing it, but if only one person said it, you don't really want to upset it. It's a fine balancing act. It really is.
Yeah.
As somebody says, if you try to please everyone, you'll please no one. Always focus on people who enjoy it. You focus on the people who enjoy it, and that's how you build a base. And you just got to come to terms is not everyone's going to enjoy your game. Not everyone's going to like it.
Right. I think that's just so important that a lot of people forget is it because a lot of people, because I'll say even myself back in the day, right, very much a people pleaser, right? Like how can I make sure that nobody hates me? Everybody should like me. But it's like at some point it's like no, it's just bizarre in some regards, but it's just like, everybody's different and people, you're not going to connect, you're not going to vibe with everybody, but
That's
that's
true.
okay.
Yeah.
And that is perfectly fine. So just like everybody has different tastes in video games.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make a video game, you can make an RPG. And there's a lot of people that like RPGs. There's people that hate RPGs. There's some people that, love FPS and they hate FPS. Like I'm one of the people like I wouldn't say hate, but like I don't play sports games or racing games because to me it's just not as compelling or interesting. And I think I've said on this podcast before, it's just like just in my mind, I just like the games of just kind of the fancy sci-fi or fantasy nature of things. And so like sports, I can go watch that on TV. Or I can go
Yeah.
play in the backyard. Like I could race a car. Sure, it might be expensive, but I could do it. When was the last time anyone could cast magic and fight in a dragon or or fly in a spaceship like across the stars? I'm like,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are the
Yeah.
cool, compelling, interesting things to me. Is but there's tons of people that love like the Madden and FIFA and all that, and I'm like, yes, those are your games. That's cool. I don't, I'm not trying to like shit on those. It's just that that's not me. Like, so absolutely understand. So, so I think one of the things, so we talked about just kind of trying things out,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about just trying not to be a people pleaser, and
Yes.
then and I like the as far as the mistakes, like just being courteous enough, right? Because there's a lot
Yes.
of
Oh yeah.
toxicity, there's a lot of hate on the internet too. So just simply being polite. It's surprising how people just seem to forget that sometimes.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's a again it's a little bizarre to me, but I don't know. That's but and one of the I think the really cool things that you as far as like taking potential like streamers and like taking like their either what likeness or their costume or something and putting it in kind of your next game. I think that speaks to like adding some additional value, right? So simply begging, right? Nobody cares. Like everybody has a sob story. I'm sorry. Like it'd be great if your game was seen, but everybody else is begging. It's like, but
Mm.
I think what you're kind of saying is like also, and I, don't let me put words in your mouth. One of the things I can see as potential is really helping the streamer in a way to say like, how can I help this person in their audience?
Yes. Yeah. 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 Because it's I mean, on my social medias, we've obviously we've added each other on there, and whenever. So one of the things I'm making a level based on the streamer. So when I do a screenshot, comment at the streamer. So if people, oh, I like the look of this level, oh, it's based on so so, we'll click it. We'll have a look. Or if it says somebody's, I think one of them was, I think it was an anniversary of like their 1 year on Twitch. Share that. And that's it's kind of like the thing is, it's like don't go in, use them for that one thing, and then go away, never go ever, never come back ever
Yeah,
again.
but
Build. I think that's an important thing is it's like build relationships up with people. Be friends with them, build each other up. If they need you, if they helped you out, so you help them out, and that's how you build like a good bond and connections. Because one of the more important things is it's like, as people say, it's who that really does help a lot.
it does. And it's just simply building those relationships is so powerful. I know it's a lot of people see that or could think, well, that's going to take a lot of time. That's more effort than I was expecting because they're looking for this transactional kind of like how can
Yes.
I make a buck, if you will,
Yeah.
right? But I would say it doesn't seem like a lot of people get into game development for money. I don't know if, and I don't want to speak for you, but as far as like it's just sharing kind of the love and the passion of games is kind of like usually the forefront. Like, yes, if you can make a living on it, absolutely yes.
Hmm.
But it's like it as far as just being like the super rich and famous or thinking it's easy money. I think that's another thing. So, oh, I'll just fire out a game and put it on Steam and then I'll make money, right?
Oh, that's just not. I wish it would, but unfortunately, it's not. No, I mean, I think that's another thing that people don't realize is how much it costs to make a game.
Mm.
It costs so much money to make a game. I mean, just one of the sprites alone for one of my first games. This is just like just for the main characters. I think they were just about. So yeah, we'll do some quick math. So they're about £200 altogether, just for all four of them. But then if you think, well, you got NPCs, and then you got the monsters, and then you got the town tile set, and then that 100 becomes 400. To make probably a game, you need a good couple of grand to even make a good, decent, half-looking game, unless you can do it all yourself. So it's either you do it in 1 year,
Yeah.
you spend money, or you do it all yourself. But then again, it
And it
takes
takes
time. It
more
takes
time
time
and
to
more
go up.
skill
Yeah.
and more that, yeah. And that's I think that's the big challenge is and so I think one of the other skills that it sounds like that you kind of come away with as part of that is that kind of level of delegation, right?
Mm.
And kind of project management, if you will. Just say like, hey, so creating a game, you're gonna have to because it's either you're gonna have to do it all yourself, and okay, so there's you save some money, it'll take more time, but there's some valuable skills to develop along the way. Great. Or kind of like what you're saying, as far as like being able to outsource some of that
Mm-hmm.
work and that's a whole skill set right there. Just like I said, I come from a corporate supply chain background. Like that's what I did. It was just simply it was outsourcing, right? Buying products or services that'll help the company, and that's a whole profession,
Oh
right? So
yeah, yeah.
so I so I just want to say like even like kudos to you to like that's very much a tangible skill that is valuable out in corporate. And so understanding that that's an important part of, if you're outsourcing as a game developer, just as important.
Yeah, and it's about finding the right people as well, because obviously, AAA companies, they've got their own people, they're under, their own move to get paid. But whereas me, I have to go out to complete strangers I don't know to say, oh, by the way, I want this doing. Um, and of course, there's scammers out there. There's people who would easily say, oh yes, I'll do this for £30. I got about Um, and there's another one. It's like, okay, I want you to make these spikes for me. Yeah, it'll be done in 2 weeks. 2 weeks was like, oh, have you finished yet? Yeah, no, not yet. I'm still getting a bit of a shot. Okay, and then
Yep.
4 weeks, and 6 weeks, and it's like you don't want to seem moody with them, but it's like you said
Yeah.
2 weeks. It's been 6 weeks now.
Like, I don't think you're gonna get it done. Yeah.
I mean, eventually it came, but I was like, oh, never again, never
Yeah,
again.
yeah, because and then at that point it destroys the trust in that person, and you're like, well, sorry, I got to go somewhere else. And then, but now that's on
Totally,
you to
yes.
be like, now I got to find somebody else to see if I can, So,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you just kind of
never
start
know
that whole
again.
cycle again, right? So, so that's I think for people is so understand that that can happen. It is
Yes.
unfortunate, but that's part of the process too. Is just kind of learning, who you can outsource to, who you can work with, and like being able to trust and actually build those, like you said, those relationships not only with like the streamers, but also the people that you're hiring or contracting out and getting work
Yeah,
done
yeah,
for.
yeah. Because you say, oh, by the way, I need so and so. You could talk to your friend. It's like, I know just a guy, and I'll give you to him. I'll recommend him to you.
Yep,
There's no risk then. Hopefully.
fantastic. Guys, so much fun. So Martin, I know we could talk for hours, but as we wind down this particular episode of Game Your Future, I just want to make sure, is there anything else that we've missed? Right? Anything else as far that you wanted to share as far as being a game developer or even a gamer that has been just such a powerful, moment or life lesson for you?
Um, I think it's just appreciating the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes of games, and that people don't fully realize what technical stuff, like how to make something so simple requires so much background um, work behind it. Um, it's just crazy amount of work you can do, and but yeah, it's so much work, but it's enjoyable. It is enjoyable. We're not tedious as well. It's people always see the math being part, but they don't realize, like, for RPG games. I think the last one I made that had about 97 weapons in it, and that's 97 weapons you all got to name down, type, do the stats for. It's boring, but it's got to be done.
Yep. Got it. Yeah, I mean, making a game right, it's all got to work, right? So it's all going to be
Oh,
done. It's
definitely,
all
yes.
going to be perfect for that. And not necessarily perfect, right? Because maybe you can update along the way, right? Because that's
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
is great about modern gaming, right? It's like, oh, we'll just patch it later. So I do recommend you to at least have something shippable for those listening, right? So there's definitely been
Yeah,
some.
just don't send it off in a buggy mess. At least give it some form of playability. Maybe the odd one or two, but that's another thing. People, if you're an indie game, people are going to treat your game like it's a AAA quality. That's how people are going to play it. They're not going to think, okay, it's an indie dev. I'll give it. They're not going to give you any leeway. They're going to download your game. They're going to play it, and they're going to judge it just as harshly as they would any other game.
Mm, so you don't think people give it any leeway as far as being in indie
Oh,
games or stuff?
absolutely not. No, because like you said, people don't realize the amount of work that goes on behind it. They say, oh, this should have been play tested, not realizing, like, this will just be play test number 1,000. Okay, 1,000. Okay, there's only so many times you can do this before you go insane.
Yep. That's so unfortunate to hear. It's like, yeah, you've been playtesting it so much, and they're like, they didn't even do this. It's like, well, now that I have the feedback of tens of thousands of people, like now I can see where the problem is. It's like,
Yes. Yeah.
oh, that's so good. But yeah, so understanding just how much work goes into game development, I think and just being able to appreciate it. So guys,
Mm.
I think looking at that, I mean, thank your game developers, thank your indie game developers, because that's just there's so much that goes on, so much fun. And so Martin, I guess before we go, I wanted to ask, like, where can people find out more about you or connect with you online or learn more about your games?
So I've got so my online handle is Arcanus. So you can either find me either on Blue Sky or X, or I'm on Discord, but mostly my social medias is the best places where you can find me, and that's where I'll mostly post updates about my games and currently what's going on and what I'm doing.
Fantastic. And so we'll have links for you guys down in the description below. So definitely check out Martin there. And definitely check out the game on Steam, the was it Square Trial and Error.
Square trial and error, yes. Yes, that was,
Fantastic.
I could talk forever about that one in a day. That was a fun development. That was so
Nice.
fun.
And so, guys, let me know down in the comments too if you want to hear more from Martin, especially about Square Trial and Error specifically about that project. Because we could certainly have him on a future episode if you guys are interested. So let me know. Okay, and then before we go, Martin, I do have one final question for you, which I ask
Mhm.
everyone on the podcast, which is, what is your favorite video game?
Oh my goodness, man. I did so many love. I mean, I pretty much grew up with Final Fantasy. It was the first RPG game I played on, you know. And the weird thing, what got me about it is when I went into the battle, the people, it was an action, they weren't fighting. I was like, well, what's going on? And just been a fan of it ever since. So yeah, Final Fantasy series.
Final Fantasy series. Any particular one? I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy as well. So, any particular one is your favorite?
Oh, I'm going to say for offline, I'm going to say 10, but for online, I would say 14. I've sunk so many hours into 14. It's unbelievable.
Same. Those, yeah, I'm a big 14. For me, it's for Final Fantasy. I think to me, it's six is at the top of my list.
Six is a good one. Yeah,
Six is
yeah.
great, but it's a 10, very good. Like that's probably number two. Like it's close to. Ah, so much fun. But yeah, so Final Fantasy series. So I know, and it's one of those great things, like I said, about connection with Final Fantasy and games just in general. So it's like we both like Final Fantasy. I know we'd be fast friends, right? So
Oh,
so
definitely.
great to
Yeah,
connect with
yeah.
you, Martin. This has been fantastic. So I guess before we go, guys, if you wanted to learn more about Martin, yeah, definitely connect with him in the links below. And if you're interested in learning more about kind of using your gaming skills to level up your own life, definitely check out my website, dragonmorexp.com, and learn how you can take your gaming and just level up your life. So cool, so fun. So, guys, this has been fantastic. Martin, thank you so much for being here. This has been great.
Thanks very much for having me. It's been enjoyable.
Absolutely. And for those watching, those listening, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.